I'm comfortable.
Okay.
Your Honor. The Corleone family is in the oil business.
Nice.
Okay, let's get started.
Let's get started. Here we
Start rocking.
go. All right. So we'll do the introduction then.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Welcome to the Mink and the Monk podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Fink.
My name is Brad Monco.
And we are here together with our first interview with the wonderful Jerry Marotta. So, shall we get started? We'll get right into it. So we're not going to start.
Let's start with the word wonderful.
The word wonderful.
I don't know about that.
Oh, as a descriptor for
Wonder, full of wonder, maybe. Anyway, yeah, let's get started.
Let's get
I'm
started.
psyched.
I am psyched too. So it's great to see you. Thank you for making the trip.
Thank you. Great seeing you too again.
Yeah.
And I'll see you again on next Friday.
Friday.
Night. Yeah.
Yeah, we will be playing at
The Town Crier.
The Town Crier. Yes.
Yeah.
With Reeling in the Years. So we could. I was going to start with something, but what we were just discussing sounds a lot more interesting. But anyway, yeah, we'll start with what I have. We'll get right into it. So I wanted to talk to you about some different things in your career. But in light of this interview coming up, I went and listened to a bunch of albums that I hadn't checked out yet that you had been part of over the years. So I got to some Tony Levin, the Resonator album, which I thought was amazing, or some Sheryl Crow and some Paul McCartney and the Peter Gabriel. I listened to Security again, and I guess without naming everything you've been on, which is seemingly a couple hundred different albums, I was really amazed and still am about the fact that you seem to create unique parts for every tune as a drummer. You seem to orchestrate from that chair, but in a global sense where you completely at an all times serve the music. So I'm wondering, is that something was that an aesthetic thing that you had from a young age, or is that something you developed and think about consciously, or is it something when you just get in the room with all these people you're able to do?
Okay, yes, very simple.
Yeah.
It might take a minute to answer that, but so I started playing the drums when I was 10, and I have an older brother who became a drummer as well. So he was in college. When he started playing the drums, and I think you know who he is, and you know his credits are equal to mine, if not more.
Yeah.
But so I was a kid, and I had this mentor who used to, who not only was he my mentor, but when I was little, he would get me by my ankles from the top bunk, and I was in the lower bunk, and he would bang my head on the floor. So in time, of course, but when I lived with my mentor, he inspired me. Of course, we loved music. My father was a dancer.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He taught ballroom dancing.
Wow.
Very, very awesome dancer. And then he went on to move on to the car business. But he was very, rhythmical. And my mother was, our mother, but she actually sang, not professionally, but in the kitchen. And her friends called her like Little Billie Holiday. She had a beautiful voice. I have very fond memories of that. So, anyway, it'll take us a minute or two to get to exactly what you had asked me. So my brother was a big influence, and within a few years, he became really good. We grew up in Westchester County and not far from New York City. My brother ended up in a band with a guitar player, a young guitar player named Dave Spinoza, who at 17 or 18 was like, he's doing sessions in New York, on a daily basis. And he and my brother were in a band together, and he started recommending my brother for sessions, probably in the late 60s.
Okay.
So I learned, ironically, from my brother, I learned a lot about being tasteful, how to play drums on a record, not live, but how to kind of compose a drum part for a song, generally as sort of singer-songwriter, pop song or whatever. So which was very different to where my my sensibility ended up, but that was a good thing, a good way to start. It was a good foundation. I grew up listening to Motown. It was black music. If it wasn't black, I didn't really take it seriously, really, for the most part. Generally, I was just way deep into soul, Motown, Stax, Philly a little bit later in the 70s, but, and that kind of playing. Excuse me. So, I was still really in high school when I got an opportunity to tour with a band.
So you started when you were 10, but by the time you're 15 then? 16 you're saying?
Yeah, no, I was good. I was good at... My brother had done a record for a band on Columbia.
Oh, okay.
It's like in the maybe 1972. They were going at a top 40 single. Back then, top 40 single was a big thing. And they wanted him to go on tour with them. And he couldn't. He wasn't going to do that because he was doing sessions in New York. But he recommended me when I went to play with these guys. They were like college guys. They were maybe 4 years older than me. And I was in summer school. You probably know this story, but I was in summer school after 11th grade because I was going to graduate a year early, which I did. So about a week before summer school was over, I got this opportunity I went and played with those guys, and they were called Arthur Hurley and Gotlieb, and ironically, it was very much like Crosby, Stills and Nash at that time, It was that, violin, acoustic guitar, bass player, played piano, really good, very good band, very good guys, right, good writers. So I had to appeal to my teachers in summer school, there were two. I was lucky, and they let me take my final exams on the road with me. So Arthur Hurley and Gotlieb was like a James Taylor, There was a lot of brushes on drums. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I'm just going to raise this up a little bit so I don't have to keep bending over.
Sure.
Brushes on toms like Fire and Rain. That was that very popular kind of music then at that time.
Yeah.
Hard to believe that I have two studios the way I'm wrestling with this. So I kind of had that going for me.
Yeah.
Which is strange, but it was...
So you were on the road.
I was tasteful, and I went on the road with them.
At like 17 then, you're saying?
Yeah. The first gig we did was we flew to Miami, and we opened a show at a High-Lie. High-Lie is a sport. It's a... I can't...
I've never heard of
it. They have these things that are like scoops.
Oh,
and
okay.
They wing this ball.
Yeah, I know what that is.
They have these High-Lie arenas. Like thousands of people.
Yeah.
I think it's maybe like a South American,
Spanish.
Anyway, we opened for Richie Havens, who at the time was huge.
Yeah, sure.
Because Woodstock had only been a few years before. So
Right.
So, but in any event, the more to the style. Then it wasn't long after that I joined a band called Orleans that were based up here in Woodstock, and they did this whole other thing that was like rock and soul.
Sure.
Just incredible. John Hall, amazing writer. Almost every song was a guitar riff.
Yeah.
Like a Clean Up Woman kind of guitar riff, and then. And Larry Hoppin, Lance Hoppin, Wells Kelly was the other drummer in the band. So it was like a great learning experience for me.
Yeah.
And it opened up that whole bringing back that R&B funk thing. But where things really went left is when I started playing with Peter Gabriel. Excuse me. And he really encouraged us to do not what you instinctively would do.
Oh, I got you.
But do something else. That's why his music sounds unusual to a large degree, because he didn't want it to sound like, the necessarily like the part that you just instinctively go to. You know what I mean? He wanted to, okay, peel that back. Now let's keep going. Let's see. Let's everybody try doing things a little differently. And he was fantastic at that. I owe a lot to him.
So he was instinctively like he knew that he wanted it to be different than what you would instinctually do, or you would do what you would do, and he'd say, no, go different than that.
Both.
Didn't you say in one interview that he asked you to play it the way that you instinctively would do it, and then he purposely like went back from that, or am I missing?
He never sat down and said, "This is what I want you to do."
Okay.
He does because he didn't know, but he kind of knew it when he heard it.
Oh, okay.
There was a funny a funny thing happened when we were recording. I want to say we started recording one of the records in Holland at a residential studio, and we went in and we started. He had this song idea. He never ever had like a completed song.
Yeah,
he had some ideas, and then we kind of like would jam them. But so we had this song, and he started playing this song, and and then he was kind of mumbling. He didn't have any lyrics, but he's mumbling into a microphone, and so we all started playing, and it's like, it's like I don't know, something like that. So Tony Levin and Larry Fast and me and Pim Later. So we got this thing. We go in and listen to it, and it sounded like a pop. So it sounded like a pop record, right? And he said, okay, now that we got that out of our system, that's exactly what I don't want it to sound like. And he wasn't angry.
Yeah.
He was just like smart. It was smart. Let's just do what we do and then strip it back from there. Because if you just start telling somebody, don't do what you want to do, try to think of something else. I think he was smart in that, like, just start by doing what you instinctively want to do.
Yeah, maybe he was just getting a beat on what you all would do.
Well, it's a good place to start, and then start to, but at least if you do that, and then somebody you listen down to what you did, and he can point out, like, maybe don't do this here. You know what I mean? Like, because you can hear what you're doing,
right?
And he can explain, but he didn't have it in his head to tell you exactly what he wanted you to do. He didn't really know. Yeah. He was always searching for something, and we would all help him find it. Which was really awesome, and it really. It changed my approach in general to music completely. I mean, working with Peter, it was, I have a lot to be thankful for, but what's funny is what drew him to me initially was the R&B factor.
Yeah,
and I think he having been in Genesis, sort of a prog band, and I think he had enough of like the busy stuff. Yeah. The busy drumming, I think it was the very simple thing really appealed to him, and certainly that's what I did. I didn't really, and to this day, as you know, I mean, I don't play a lot of stuff. I'm just kind of try to keep the groove going, and I'm happy doing that. I love that. That's not a compromise. I mean, I do that with conviction. I'm not wishing I could do a lot more. I'm happy doing just a simple thing.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. As far as, like, I just think of it as your aesthetic. It's always driving. It's always, no matter what you're doing, no matter where you put the emphasis on the kit, it's deeply musical and serves whatever I've played with you in several situations now. Like we do the Reeling in the Years thing, and we also I played with you with Arnold McCuller, which was a different kind of thing.
Sure.
And then I've even played. We get together and have played like bebop tunes with Peter Primamore at that bar up in where I came and sat in with you guys up.
Yeah.
And it always feels like you, but it's always different what you're doing. And and there's like, you don't even want a solo. Like, we've traded. The idea of trading fours or trading eights, you'll do it, but like, it's not like you seriously are like, no, I'll just play.
It really depends, and mostly it can be painful. it depends on the piece and if it's like a swinging thing, I mean, I'll do it, but I'm certainly not. And I do what I do. I mean, that's all. And it's funny. There are people. There's some people who we both know, who have never said it, but I'm sure they just think I can't play jazz. I should never play jazz ever.
Oh. Okay.
And then there are other people I played with that are jazz like guys that are like, and I'm always kind of apologetic, like, yeah, geez, I'm sorry, I'm not. And they're like, no, man, it's great.
I know exactly one person who you probably are talking about, which is
it's great what you do. It's like you're just grooving it like crazy, but and look, let's face it. I think with jazz, with an upright bass player and a piano player, one of the things that can happen. I'm not saying this is the less I play, the more room there is for either them to play or sit back and just play, not have to feel like they're competing with a drummer who's all over the place.
Right.
Yeah. But that's kind of my approach, and I listened to a lot of jazz when I was like 12, 13. I have a lot of jazz records.
Yeah.
And but I didn't, everything from Lenny Tristano to Coltrane to Johnny Hodges to Coleman Hawkins, like and then Wes Montgomery. And I mean, it was just, it's funny because now I've come back around to where that music is so interesting to me, and and rock music is pretty boring to me at this point. It's the same thing, it's the way it's constructed. Rock and pop music, I'm a little tired of the form, the format, the form of it. With jazz, it's much. There's just something more appealing to me now. You just really hear a little more personality, and it's not quite as rooted into you have to do 120 beats per minute. That's right. That's what's popular right now. That's for kids are dancing to that.
Yeah.
And then the form of this intro, verse, chorus, bridge, solo, breakdown, third verse, chorus. It's like I'm getting really tired. I've been tired of it for a long time.
Well, the good news is you probably from doing all of these big tours and recordings, you probably have enough saved to lose it playing jazz gigs now, which is probably a good thing.
You mean money?
Yeah.
Oh no, not at all.
Oh,
but
well, then
these
don't get
jazz
into
gigs pay as much money as these rock club gigs.
Really? Oh
yeah, of course.
Okay.
I mean, I always laugh and think now, jazz hasn't changed at all. You go out and play a gig, you know what you're doing there, and you know what you're going to get. It's the whole rock and roll thing. The pay scale for the rock and roll it's plummeted. It's plummeted. I make about 20% of what I made 20, 30 years ago. Maybe 25%. That's the pay scale. That's what it's become.
For recording or touring or both?
All of it. I haven't really toured on a big level in a long, long time.
Oh, okay.
I haven't really toured with anybody famous this century, shall we say. I haven't had a roadie. I always joke about it. And I used to joke about it in the Tony Levin band because it was like 2006, 2007. I'm like, I haven't had a drum roadie this century. I was setting up my own drums and breaking my drums down. Now it's 2021. I haven't had a roadie this century. I still haven't had a roadie this century. And you know what? I don't care. I mean, I would like to play on a tour, a big tour, with somebody like Sting, or where the music is really hip and everything's taken care of for you and you make a whole lot more money. But I got to be honest with you. I know guys that are doing that are like, that lose their minds, break things, get into fights, almost get into a fist fight with Sting.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, I know guys that are just, it's just a whole nother level of, you know, it's what you break is more expensive on those kinds of tours, but then you're making enough more money that you can afford to pay for it.
Gotcha.
But if that makes any of this makes any sense, but you know what? Look, I'm a musician. You know, we both know Tony Levin well, and Tony's one of my closest friends, and we talk about it a lot. I mean, we're going to play no matter what. I mean, he's played with Pink Floyd, and he's with King Crimson and Peter Gabriel. We did that together, blah, blah, blah. But we'll do an Uncle Funk gig, you know, in Kingston at Keegan Ailes, and we don't even care how much we make.
Yeah, I watched the other video from Daryl's with the Phil Keaggy, and that was with Tony and the
bucket list.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean we talk about that a lot. I mean we're just players. We're going to play. We don't really have much of a choice, although he does so many other things.
Yeah.
Writing and photography and books and photo books and poetry and blah blah blah. Cure for cancer. I think he's working on that. Cure for COVID. Anyway, Tony's a wonderful guy and very super talented. But the key is we just do. This is what we do. I mean, going to play it. I'm going to play a jazz brunch at the Bearsville, whatever it's called, on Sunday. Going to make $100, maybe $150, and brunch.
Hey.
By the way,
yeah.
But I would do that every day. I mean,
yeah.
Well, you seem like you really appreciate just the role of the drums. Like Matt was saying, like you seem to work to serve the song. Do you think of that as like a form of minimalism, or do you have like a particular philosophy about how you think the drum should work, or is it just like how it feels for you when you get behind the kit?
Right. Very good question. Some of my very favorite things that I have produced, because I'm happiest when I'm producing, because then I can, I'll explain that in a second, but my favorite things that I've produced on records I produced, there are no drums. In fact, it's funny. I did a film soundtrack, that I was scoring it, and the engineer, who I was a good friend and I work with a lot, somewhere down the line as we were like developing, to picture, and I was playing guitar or piano or whatever I was doing, and then I was kind of building it up, and at one point he turned to me and he went, "Do you think that maybe you should put some drums on something, or maybe percussion?" Because there was none, and I wasn't thinking like that. No. And of course, I went back and eventually I did, but it wasn't. And then sometimes what works is just that it's just percussion. It starts with something, drums and percussion. But the thing that's best for me when it comes to production is that I can determine exactly what the drums and percussion are going to do, and if anything at all. What a downside to what I learned from Peter Gabriel was when I go and do that in certain circumstances, people don't get that. They don't get that.
What they want you to
play. They don't get that. They're like, we need drums. Like, not those drums. I have an idea. Can you play this, Phil? This is great. Boom, boom, but do. And what they don't know is that's on every other song that they've ever listened to. That's why they think it's a great idea.
Right.
And maybe it is, for that matter. It's familiar to people. But I don't think like that. I'm not afraid to do the obvious, but I'm going to always, see if I can come up with something a little left of center. And with me, it doesn't take long. And people have said, dude, I mean, what you just did in 45 minutes, I mean, I think it would take other drummers, all day or days to but because I have it dialed in. You know what I'm saying?
I do not from hearing you say that, but just the body of work that you have, you seem to do that on every tune. Like, you create this thing, and that's what I was kind of wondering, but that's where the first question started. And when I look at the body of work, the hundreds of recordings, like, it makes sense now that you say it doesn't take you long, that you have it dialed in.
Well, I have my thing pretty well dialed in.
Yeah.
And if I'm producing, then the key is to get the people around me to also think a little outside of the box and, orchestrate it, help, create the landscape and the, you know what I'm saying.
So for you then, at the drums or as producer, it is the same aesthetic then.
Yes.
Yes, that's what I.
Now,
Excuse me.
when you've been like participating in albums and you've had a chance to say more than like you're not just playing, you have a role in the production. You get to say things and have a lot of input.
Yeah.
Is there a particular project that like really represented like your feelings about music and things that you think aesthetically represent you? Or
Almost every one of the ones that I've done. You mean that I produced?
yeah, like which ones were given more of that
Well, if you're the
creative
producer,
opinion?
you're pretty much in charge. I mean, you still have to. You can argue with the artist because they want to do it a certain way. You know, I did a record with this woman named Jenny Bird, and she lives in Taos, New Mexico, and she set down. You know, she would call me. She sent me stuff like cassettes and music. This is back cassette days, but she really wanted me to work on her. You know, to produce her, but it just. I was listening to her stuff, and it just. I just didn't want to do it.
But is there like
There was something wrong. There was something wrong with it. And then one day she kept reaching out to me, and I was just listening. And then one day I got it. And what's on her cassette tapes is all wrong. It's all wrong,
Yeah.
Jenny. You know, you want to be in a rock band, but your songs are not rock band songs. I mean, they don't come across to me. So I went to New Mexico and we recorded on ADATs in her Earthship, which, if you know what an Earthship is.
I don't, but
it's a house a guy named Mike Reynolds developed. Like, it's in the Southwest. The walls are made out of tires and hay and stuff, and then they adobe over it. Like, you can heat the place with a candle,
Wow.
They're like super environmental, and there'll be like bottles, like recycled bottles, but not crushed up, built in as an aesthetic. Anyway, we did it at her Earthship, and Trey Gunn was living in Taos at the time.
Oh, okay.
So he came and he did his thing, and I had Taos drums from Taos. And the record's one of my favorite records I've ever done. It was like, and it was nothing like what she was looking for. It's a fantastic record.
Okay.
I don't know to this day whether she was completely
Let's call her.
happy. We should call her. I don't know if she was completely all in,
She released it though. It's
Oh
out.
yeah, it's a great record.
Yeah.
Great record. One of my favorite records that I produced, and I think we did the record for like $10,000. It was very low budget.
Wow.
And very minimal, but those are interesting situations. That's when I'm happiest.
Was there a project where right from the beginning, like at that point with the demos, you knew right away, like, oh, I connect with this. Like, this is really close to home for what I think music should sound like?
No, not really.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I wouldn't have expected
I don't
molding
know.
someone else.
I don't know how to answer that. I just think if the song is good, if there's something good about it, then that's what's going to appeal to me first of all. Is if it's how's the song and how's the singer, and really more than anything, it's not even like, is the singer Joey Eppard, like that level of singing, but more important, is it sincere? I know it sounds silly.
No, that sounds.
But is there
actually-
like sincerity to this? And even if a guitar player, which is oftentimes the case, is like the singer-songwriter, they're not really good guitar players, and they're just playing, and then sometimes they'll be apologizing, and I'm like, oh no, don't apologize. What you're doing is great, because a guitar player wouldn't do that.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
like a guitar player is gonna try to figure out, was it the chords, and you're kind of just doing this weird thing. I actually have had people occasionally, like on piano, if I'm sitting down and playing something, somebody would come up to me, friends of mine would go like, "What are you doing? Let me see what you're doing." And then they would go like, "That's wrong. Let me show you what's wrong about it, but don't change it because
Right.
somehow the way you're doing it, these notes are not supposed to work together. But I don't know the way you're doing it. It makes it sounds, and I don't know that you're not supposed to play those notes together. I'm just because I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, I'm just like plucking away at the piano.
Yeah, you're going by what it sounds.
But
like.
I like that. Sometimes I'll hear. I don't know. I guess sometimes you hear things, and it has to appeal to me somehow. And I don't think I ever have it like I hear it, I get it, I know, because I don't like to go in with that. Okay. Like I want to go in with, I know where this could go, and then I try to get the right people to kind of be involved that know how to take it in that direction. And so that's more like important to me than if I hear something and in my head I hear note for note what I think the whole thing should sound like, because I don't do that.
Yeah.
I don't do that.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not good enough to do that. I mean, if you're
but I'm not good at conceptualizing as a producer like how a whole band should sound, and I wasn't sure where it started for you, but obviously you know how to reach a point that I never could with all that.
Yeah.
But before we get too much further, I did want to backtrack to something from the beginning that you brought up. You said that your father was a dancer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would be curious to know how your dancing is, but also, does dancing?
You don't want to see that. I can't dance.
All right, let's move the table out a little bit. But does dancing and choreography artistically inform any of the decisions that you make as a musician?
No.
Cool. All right.
No. But I love dancing and I love watching it. In fact, I've been on Instagram. There's now a thing, I don't even know how it happened, but there's something called Reels. It's like TikTok. Yeah. And there's
I was just hearing about this yesterday.
A lot of dancing. And there are these 3 girls. They're like young, high school.
Go on.
Oh my God. I love them. And not like that way. They're so enthusiastic. They're so good. And
they're doing what, different kinds of dances?
Well, they're doing mostly like that, the kind of dancing you see on, modern day.
Yeah.
Like Britney Spears, who I don't even know if she's even modern.
There's a new
day.
commercial on TV where there's families and they switch. It's 3 or 4 family members that are doing the same dance and they switch to it. It's like a popular, maybe it's because of this that this.
I think it's a trend.
Yeah.
I think it's a trend because I'm finding more and more now there's a lot of people doing a thing to a song. It's a guitar song, but it's got to be, the guy's got to be from France or something. But it's so embedded in my head, and everybody's doing dancing to it.
Gotcha.
And it's very interesting. It's very simple.
Yeah.
Very cool. But yeah, no, I love dancing. I wish in fact, watching it, I was thinking I really want to start taking dance lessons, movement, not for any other reason than it just looks cool. And, I mean, I can hardly walk. So God only knows if I could ever do any of the things that they're doing. But it's unusual, it's not the kind of dancing my father, I'd be curious if my father were around, but my father his thing was Latin dancing. I mean, he was like a mambo, he was very up on the Latin stuff. He was very funky, he had great rhythm and very stylish dancer,
Did that give you a good sense of Latin grooves?
Yeah. Yes, to some degree. I mean, my parents listened to big band stuff, so I listened to a lot of that when I was a kid, but I really remember my older sister and my older brother, James Brown records, and we had that stuff going on in the house, and other stuff too, but we all kind of gravitated towards that the black thing, you know, and there was a radio station growing up called WLIB. It's funny. I talked to Donald Fagen about this, and I think he grew up in the area, and I think he remembers the very same show and the DJ Eddie OJ. Oh wow! He was like Eddie OJ when I was like 10. You know, I would listen. I know it sounds hokey, but like I had a little like transistor radio. Yeah. I'd be up at like 5:30, 6 in the morning in bed, and I'd turn it on and I'd listen. Yeah. In fact, I remember very distinctly the morning that Otis Redding was killed in a plane crash, because I remember turning it on and it was Eddie OJ was like, "Oh, it's a sad, sad day," blah blah blah, and it was the day he was killed. You know, but Eddie OJ was. Back then, I think DJs had maybe a little bit more say as to what they played, at least some of what they played. Yeah, sure. So, you know, I just got exposed to a lot of really cool, you know, black R&B stuff. And like 60, we're talking like 64, 65.
Yeah, so 66. You're like 9 or 10, right? You're saying you're like...
I was born in 56. So, yeah, exactly. Yeah. But we did have that going on. Big band stuff. My parents. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how it all happened. It was just there was something that was my brother, my older brother. We never took any lessons. My brother got very good in the way that he needed that, you know, to be able to play on records. Yeah, you know, he got very good very fast. In like 2 years, he was really playing great, but not fancy, just really. But you know, he had lots of chops, more so than I do, ever did or ever will have. But he didn't utilize them very much.
Well, when I think about it, he aesthetically seems to do what's right for the tune. Pocket being the way that you do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, case in points like Peg.
Peg, yeah, sure.
You know, I mean, he played on the Peg. He played on Time Out of Mind. He's played on a lot of records. Yeah. I mean, a lot of records.
And just those two tunes, the sound and the tuning of the drums sounds completely different, and what's right but perfect aesthetically for each one of those tunes.
Right. Yeah. And Don't Take Me Alive was another one they did, which was a little more involved. It wasn't a hit pop tune like Peg was like a big hit.
Yeah, yeah, it was.
And you know, he knew how to do that, and he was very good at it. And which is one of the things I think. Well, you and we can relate to, and when sometimes we talk about approach is, you know, when I'm playing, I'm basically at the edge of my ability. So it's not like I'm trying to hold back all of this stuff, you know, that they call you stuff. Show me your stuff. I'm not trying to hold it back. I can't do it. I'm like at the edge of my ability. So I'm like, I'm just, I'm all in, you know. Yeah. But it's like I'm not like, oh, I'm just gonna play this simple thing, but you know, what I really want to do is like really take it out. And, you know, I think that has worked to both my brother and my advantage. Is that's you know, we do basically what we can do.
Yeah, but it's pocket and feel, which a lot of people don't start there. I mean, it's at the fundamentally at every time I play with you, it always has that feel regardless of what you're doing, and the touch on the instrument.
Those are all like important things that have nothing to do with, I'm telling you, all my life I got over it, but I was very guilty. I felt very guilty a lot when guys would come up to me, you know, when I was younger especially, and you know, these are like, you know them too. These are kids that are like, they have the sticks in their back pocket all times. They're always practicing. They're always playing. And then they were like, Jerry, you know, oh my God, how could I, you know, what do I do? I mean, how do I, and it's like, I feel guilty, you know, because they're all so much more dedicated and they've worked so much harder at playing the drums than I ever did.
It's like practicing the fundamentals of the instrument, you're saying.
They and beyond. And you know, I felt guilty. Like I just like started banging along to records. And
So you're saying that you don't have a rudiments book that you practice out of?
I don't even know one rudiment. I don't know one rudiment. I don't know what a rudiment is. Well, I know what a rudiment is, but I don't know rudiments. But no, I never did any of that.
Well, I have a couple of books.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That's got a nasty paradiddle if you need it.
Yeah, no, thanks. Actually, I was funny. I was thinking now at 65, I was thinking maybe would be cool is for me to now go back and actually take lessons and study and to play differently.
Yeah, probably
to
mess
be
you
able
up.
to play jazz for that one guy that we both know that I'm sure thinks I can't play jazz. And he may be right. I don't know, but but you know what? When it's the Jerry Marotta trio,
Yep.
I'm playing jazz whether you like it or not because it's my gig.
Yeah, that's right.
I only hire guys who think who are on board.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I was going to say earlier, I was having a discussion with, and I know this is someone that you were thinking of, but Ira Coleman was just talking about playing, like you were talking last year about doing a trio thing, just getting together and playing tunes, and Ira just raves about playing tunes with you, about it's
Well, he's an example of a guy who does know, and has played a lot of jazz, and I apologized to him, and he was like, Jerry,
he sincerely
don't apologize.
Yeah, he sincerely
you're
raves.
throwing it down, man.
Yeah.
Your pocket and your groove, and I love playing brushes.
Yeah,
really, I'm almost all I do. I mean, I don't have the touch. Quite have the touch to play sticks, like in a jazz brunch.
Oh, I see what you're
scenario where it's let people, if
yeah.
I pick up the sticks, I don't quite, and I have fairly light sticks, lighter than the ones I used to play when I was playing that I used when I played the rock stuff.
Yeah.
I don't quite have the touch for it, and I love brushes. They're super expressive. It's funny, but people, I remember a few years ago, there was, I think it was like L'Hommage, maybe. Tony Levin's in a band with Mike Maneri, Steve Gadd, Dave Spinoza, Warren Bernhardt, okay? Phenomenal jazz musicians. And I don't know who said it. There wasn't, and nobody said it. And none of those guys, I think, said this to me, but I think Steve basically played brushes all the time. Mm-hmm. And then there was this thing about, Steve would, play with sticks. And I always feel like, well, I should talk to Steve about it sometime, about the brush thing, because I think I could just play what I'm going to play on Sunday morning at the Bearsville, whatever it is, and then and just play with brushes and never even pick up a pair of sticks. Yeah, it's just so great because it's kick, it's snare, it's all on the snare drum. It's all just, and it's getting those textural stuff out of a snare with the brushes, without banging around on everything. And believe me, I hit the other things, but the key element is the brushes and the sound of brushes.
And I'm sure all those people eating omelets appreciate it.
I think they do.
Yeah.
I could actually mix. Yeah, they could be tossing eggs into a bowl, and I could be mixing them up.
It'd actually probably be a nice sound. Yeah.
Flip them.
Yeah, you could set up like a hibachi style for the brunch there.
Yeah. One of these days you should come and do it.
I'd love to.
Well, we'll do it. Done it. It's the second time with the piano, piano bass room. But I don't know. We'll in the future.
Would love to.
It went well, and they immediately asked me to come back again.
I saw that you were doing it. Like a month ago? You did it. It was
maybe a little more.
Because when we played the Bearsville last month or whenever that was, I saw that weekend.
It was a few days after.
Yeah, you were playing there, and then I looked on your website yesterday, and I saw that you were. I think this Sunday you're playing there, right? Is that what that is?
Yes.
Yeah.
This Sunday, Bearsville. I don't know what they're calling it. The Bearsville Lounge, it's the bar or whatever.
Yeah, it just said the Jerry Marotta. I think the word jazz was in the name of the group.
Jerry Marotta Trio.
Oh, it's just trio?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, it's better than last time. I mean, I was there day before the thing, and I was sitting in that room, and they have like these things like upcoming events, and on it just said Marotta Trio. It didn't even say it didn't say Jerry. It was just, and I don't blame him because the guy who was organizing, he kept emailing me for information, and I'm so bad between being forgetful, and then I'm so bad at it, and then I don't blame him. He probably just finally went, look, Jerry hasn't given me any information, so but he could have put Jerry Marotta Trio, but Marotta Trio. But I'm looking forward to it. I always have fun doing that.
Yeah.
Tom Cole's piano player.
Okay.
Tom's a really great player. And,
Excellent.
And a bass player named Steve Rohn, who I haven't played with in probably 50 years.
It's been a minute.
Yeah, it has. It's pretty wild. And he's because Tom and he both play together quite a bit.
Gotcha.
And so, yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, back then, this was before you knew about the, was it the Buoyant Pony?
Buoyant Pony?
Yeah. This is before that. Yeah, okay.
It's a good name for a band, actually.
That's a smoking name
it's
for a band.
It's just not, I didn't make it up, so.
Yeah. You should have told them at the Bearsville it's the Buoyant Pony Trio.
Yeah, exactly.
That would have been.
The Buoyant Ponies. It's more like a rock. It's a rock. It should be a rock thing.
Yeah.
Kind of a band that's not playing jazz.
Yeah, got you.
Well, you never know. Nowadays, anything goes.
Yeah.
Man, this bass player, he's going to be blown away. He's like, Jerry, what did you learn that changed your sound so much over all this time?
Right.
The Buoyant Pony. Yeah. Well, then I'll ask one more question before I think we've taken up probably enough.
Where are we at?
I don't even know. It feels like we haven't even gotten started yet.
Yeah.
You have to know this, and maybe you do know this about me.
Yeah. No, I love this about you. Yeah.
Jerry will go on for hours.
Yeah, I'm all in.
Jerry can go on for hours.
I'm all in. I don't know where we're at, but
I think we're like about nearing an hour.
Okay.
Yeah, we can always do this, and I almost have wanted to make it now, almost compulsory, where it's like, let's just do, let's break it up, but we're never going to get through the whole, every story that I have to tell.
We can have part 2 and part 3 whenever you want to make the journey.
There'll be the PG, the PG-17, the X, blah, 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 the triple X.
Fans cut.
The OnlyFans cut. Yeah, this is how we can generate some information.
I just, every so often, I remember things.
You should write them down.
I remember things. Can I just tell you? Can I set the table for some time in the future?
Yeah.
I was living in Manhattan, and loving every minute of it. And my brother was in L.A., and he sent this girl who he met and knew. She was coming to New York, and he sent her. She gave her my number. He said, "No, get together with my brother when you're in New York. Give him a call." Well, it's hysterical when I think about it. So she comes over. She may still be at my apartment, but this was 35 years ago. But she was a chaperone for the dating game. I think it was the dating game where people would go out. Was it the dating game? It was something
they would go on the date. And
but it was beyond the date. I think sometimes they would go on a cruise for 2 days or something. Okay. She was a chaperone. And when I think about what transpired in the 12 hours that she was in my apartment, it makes me wonder what kind of a chaperone could she have possibly been, except to maybe initiate the Buoyant Pony. No, it was just, it's funny. I was thinking about it recently, and it's a story maybe will never be told in public, but
Well,
I'll explain you after we
I'm all in.
shut down. But
yeah. I'm
like
all in.
there's a lot of those. There's a lot of those stories, and it's probably why I can hardly walk anymore. Everything hurts. My joints are all a mess, and
Well, because for a lot of these tours, you had a roadie, so you can't blame it on that. Your joints hurting.
No.
Right.
We always had a road. It was always easy, very easy touring with on a big tour.
Yeah.
But it was fun. But you get tired of everything. Here's a good example. You know who Hugh Grant is?
Sure.
Okay, and you know what's her name? Elizabeth Hurley.
Yeah.
So were they married?
Yeah, for a minute.
They're together, and he gets busted on like Hollywood Boulevard with some skanky woman with the mugshots of him and her.
Where she was the chaperone on the.
No, she wasn't. She wasn't. But you think, wait a minute. You've got Elizabeth Hurley's at home waiting for you.
Yep.
Arguably one of the most stunningly beautiful women on the planet.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are you doing on Hollywood Boulevard picking up some prostitute? Like, what are you, out of your mind? So the point is, everything and anything wears thin. Eventually,
Grass is always greener, it would seem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Elizabeth Hurley doesn't know the Buoyant Pony.
She might. We don't know this.
Well, let's not go there because now you opened up Pandora's box. Because she might.
If you
not.
want to come on the show, Elizabeth.
Yeah, she may not be buoyant or pony
or pony-like. Yeah. I don't want to speak for her, but then my final question.
Yeah, whatever. I'm not in a rush to go anywhere.
Okay. We're just talking about you've been on the road with a lot of different groups, but I've talked to you and I've heard you speak about this. It seems like your career seems to be just a never-ending series of different opportunities that you've sometimes had to say no to because it's not because you were messing around somewhere. It was just you had another obligation. So so I've heard you talk about this, like with the recording you did with Paul McCartney, right. But I was always curious about the Hall & Oates. So you toured with Hall & Oates?
Yes.
But that came after Peter Gabriel?
No, it was at the same time.
Okay, so
that was just a crazy moment in time for me, where they were both working their schedules out around my schedule.
So you were on the road for a long time at that point.
Well, I was going, I recorded the better part of 3 records with Daryl and John. I did, I had been doing more with Peter, touring and recording and touring and recording. But, the absolute, the extreme case there was I finished touring with Hall & Oates in Japan, in Tokyo. Mm-hmm. And I flew to England, and I got picked up in the very early, 6 in the morning or something, and I was driven out to where Peter Gabriel had this house where we would stay and rehearse and blah blah blah. And then I waited for everybody to get up so that we started rehearsing for a tour with Peter. So I just finished Hall & Oates one day, and the next day I'm on my way to England to start rehearsing with Peter. I mean,
for a tour, not or a record.
For a tour.
For a tour. Yeah.
No, that was for a UK tour or something. But that, then I was doing a lot of that for a few years. I was going to England pretty much every month for 2 or 3 years from New York, which is where I lived. And it worked out really well. There was a point where Daryl and John really wanted me to just stay with Hall & Oates.
Right.
And I was much more loyal to Peter, although honestly, when it comes down to it, I enjoyed playing with Daryl and John more because the music was that rock and soul. They're from Philly.
Yeah, sure.
That rock and soul thing. It was my wheelhouse. I was in heaven, but I wasn't thinking anything more than I was just loyal to Peter. I'd been working. It was like a family.
Yeah.
And sometime in the future we can open up the can of worms of the fact that I realized pretty more recently that I really remained fiercely loyal to Peter, but he didn't remain loyal to me in the end, because he cut me loose after the So record, which was one of those examples where I was doing the McCartney record. He changed his schedule, and they were both at the same time. His was supposed to be like, let's say March. Paul's was in April, and then Peter changed the schedule to April. And I didn't feel, for many reasons, like I could back out of doing this Paul McCartney record. You know, one of the things was the record was just Paul, Eric Stewart from 10cc, who wrote, and they were co-writing, and me, just three of us. So it was a little hard. It wasn't like there were 7 people in the band, It was just the three of us for a month or two.
And it's not like one of them wasn't Paul McCartney.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, because Eric was his own, in his own right, was, he wrote a bunch of songs with, and had 10cc. He was the producer and writer and sang. He was the mastermind of a lot of that stuff, and a great band. And anyway... And at that point, I'd been kind of tired of the shenanigans with the changing schedules and stuff. But
so that happened often.
And it would happen. It happened. It happened for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know if that had a bearing on Peter. Maybe thought I just chose to work with, because he wasn't Peter Gabriel post So yet. He was pre-So, so he wasn't playing stadiums. You know? Right. Playing theaters,
gotcha.
Or in some places we're playing 10, 15,000 people, but mostly 3, 4, 2, But anyway, things are what they are. If I had been a smarter businessman and then could play jazz because I had so much money that I didn't need to make any, that would have happened if I had just gone with Hall & Oates, because they went on to be the biggest selling duo in the history of music. And anyway, so, but it's just going. I was dividing my time between the two of them, and I was very fortunate that they were both accommodating my schedule.
So in that era, you were just busy.
Yeah,
it seemed like it just.
Yeah, I was.
Went into the other.
I didn't even think about it. I'm not smart when it comes to that kind of business. What's the smart move? My older brother, aside from being a great player, but he doesn't really play much, and he hasn't for many, many years. He's very smart when it comes to that kind of things. And then he ended up, maneuvering himself into scoring television shows, and he won the lottery with Everybody Loves Raymond. He wrote the theme song.
Sure.
He's made millions and millions of dollars from that. He's much smarter than me when it comes to the business side of it. I'm just a guy who will play the jazz brunch on Sunday. He wouldn't do that.
Well,
he doesn't even understand that I do that. He just thinks it's a waste. I'm wasting my talent. That's what he thinks.
Well, you're not.
He may be right in some ways, but
you're making music.
I don't feel like that.
No, you're doing things that seem fruitful and enjoyable to you. Like, I've never been on a gig with you where you weren't enjoying yourself.
Yeah, I try to.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's happening now is I've gotten to a point in my life, because I'm a bit older, I still love playing, and I'm playing as much as I'm playing a lot, but I'm a little more.
Did something happen?
I don't know. Is it off?
I think it's just a screensaver, right?
I'm a little more picky. Not so much about let me hear the music, but just, when is it? Where is it? What is it? Like, to some degree, I will. I'll either say no, or I've being a musician, as you can probably relate, both of you. For a long time now, I've gotten into a poverty head of how little can I do this for. Because there are no labels, there's not a lot of money, but I'm over that now. Because I was really, I was like, and I would get angry because I'm like playing on doing somebody's record, and I'm not getting paid really enough for it to make it worthwhile. And the music isn't great. So now I've gotten to come around to like, this is what I charge for a song.
Yeah.
And if you can't afford it, it's not simple, because then if I start talking to somebody and you can tell when somebody's sincere.
Yeah.
And they're like, I can't tell you how many times it's people say like, Jerry, you're like my all-time favorite drummer. It's a dream. I've got like 8 songs, and I mean, I've got $1,200. Now, I'll just tell you this. I'm going to send you the music. If I'll pay you $1,200. If you do 1 song, I'll be happy.
Oh, wow.
If you do 2 songs, I'll be happy. I just do what you can, whatever you can do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not a negotiation. It's really it's like, Jerry, it's a dream come true to have you, to even be talking to you. So, just whatever, just do. Here's what I have. Seriously,
Yeah.
I'm sorry I don't have more, but this is what I have. And if that's what, if you do 1 song and that's what you get paid, that's fine. I'm happy. I mean it. And of course, then you know what you're gonna do. You're gonna go out of your way to try to do all 8 songs.
Yeah.
And oftentimes they're simple enough to get them done.
Yeah.
They don't take. It's not rocket science. Anyway, that's, I still love to play, and I always look for opportunities to play. Love doing the gig that we do with Reeling in the Years.
Yeah. I love doing that gig.
It's so much fun. It's fun playing with 10, 11 people.
Yeah.
Because the trend is more to be like a duo.
Right.
White Stripe. Or a trio.
Yeah.
For financial reasons.
Yeah.
So,
that gig, if the pay is gravy, I just love sound. I look forward to sound check. It's a fun hang.
Yeah. It's great. It's like being in class.
Yeah.
It's like being in band.
Yeah.
When I was in, there's so many personalities.
Yeah.
And people are fiddling on with a flute and a trombone. Everybody's kind of warming up.
Yeah.
It reminds me of when I was in band in high school.
Yeah.
And then you're looking over at somebody and you're laughing about something, and somebody else is doing some weird thing, and it's great.
It is great. And I was gonna say, it's a lot like I always talk to people, and I didn't realize it when I was younger, but as I now know, a big part of it is the hang. Can you have fun with the people you're playing with, and is it enjoyable? Because the music only lasts, those are long sets, but it's roughly 2 hours. But it's a 10-hour day. You got to hang out with those people, eat with them, and if it's not that's all fun in that band. And I choose to do those gigs more than most because of the hang and the music to boot, but the hang is a lot.
Playing any Steely Dan material
it's amazing music.
Honestly, I don't care what people say about tribute bands or anything.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah.
You know what we get to play?
Yeah.
Every song is great.
Every song is great.
And I'd rather do that than play a gig with somebody where, I'm like, can't wait to get to, all right, song 1 and 2 are really, really fun to play. Then 3, 4, and 5 are like, oh boy. And then song 7 is going to be fun again. And trying to figure out a way to get through the set.
Yeah.
I just as soon. And what's funny? I've done rarely, but I have done, and not for any reason, went some wedding gigs, and people always complain about them. The guys that do them, complain about them.
Sure, yeah.
But when I do one, it's like, it's a 20-minute block of music. It's like from Stevie Wonder to Michael Jackson to Earth, Wind, and Fire to this one to that one, where you just, and people are dancing, and it's like September into some Stevie Wonder things, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and,
sure.
And almost any Michael Jackson song, just to play as a drummer, I'm having a great time.
Yeah.
I'm having a great time.
I love wedding gigs. All those Michael Jackson tunes have killer bass.
Yeah, I'd rather do that than just as soon do that than to play on. And I've done a lot of recordings with people. It's like, these songs are, there's like 2 good songs, and there's a whole bunch of songs.
Those are the ones you do one tune for $1,200 and call it a day.
Oh, right. No, I never get paid that much anymore for one song.
Well, you should.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We all should.
Well, I mean, we are wrapping it up, but I feel like I want to give you an opportunity. You know, obviously we're talking about Reel in the Years, which, you know, I've gotten to see, and you guys sound awesome. I'm a big Steely Dan fan. But this is probably coming out in like a couple weeks, like early mid-October. Is there anything around that time that you want people to be keeping an eye out for? Anything else that you're excited about?
Other than Reeling in the Years?
Well, you can talk about Reel in the Years more too.
Well, the import. I'm just trying to think. We have a gig at the Town Crier in Beacon on the 24th of September. Please come to that. I don't know
Well,
when
the show will
this
probably
is
be out.
When is this going to be?
Probably
out?
in a couple weeks. We're hoping like mid-October. Yeah. So,
Well, then October 22nd, I think we're playing the Colonial Theater in Pittsfield, Massachusetts.
Mass.
Come out to that, and then I'm working on more gigs. And then in December, we're playing at Daryl's house.
December 15th.
Yeah. Now, what else? What else have I done? I just played a gig, Sci-Fi Summit, with a guy named Anthony Rapp, who I've been playing with for maybe the last 4, 5, 6 years, who was one of the stars of the show Rent on Broadway.
Okay. Wow.
And then he got cast in Star Trek.
Oh.
So he's a character on Star Trek now, and has been for probably 4 years. So that put a damper on us doing any more gigs.
Yeah.
But we did Sci-Fi Summit, which was people were dressed up in Star Trek outfits. We did that on, I forget what day it was, Friday, down in Edison, New Jersey.
Lots
at
of
a
single men
convention.
in attendance.
You know
Yeah.
what? I stayed away from the actual summit itself. I kept to myself, and for no other reason than I just, you know.
You weren't in costume.
I wasn't in costume,
Okay.
but I did threaten to dress up like Chewbacca. And it was brought to my attention. That's
Wrong.
That's Star Wars. But then again, it wasn't a science. It wasn't. There are Star Trek conventions.
Sure.
But this was the Sci-Fi Summit. So I
you
think
weren't wrong.
I was not wrong.
Right.
Then I decided. I said, "What if I dress up like Uhura from the original Star Trek?"
Oh.
If you've ever seen the original Star
I
Trek.
haven't seen it, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, so she was the black woman who was, you know, I don't know what she did, but she was.
First interracial kiss on TV or something, right?
What's that?
Didn't she have like the first interracial kiss on TV with William Shatner or something?
Very possible. Very possible.
I feel like that's what I hear about Star Trek. There's some like famous kiss scene.
Okay. Well, I'll guarantee that at that summit, you're the only one that spent 12 hours with the chaperone of the dating game.
Oh, if you only knew. You're going to know in a minute.
Wait, but did you... different costume.
No, there were no costumes. There were no costumes for that.
Yeah, she shaved the costume off.
The costumes came off mighty quick.
Wow. All right. Well, we'll save that for part 2 of
Yes, we will.
for this interview. Do you have anything else?
No, I mean, just
Yeah,
thank you.
I don't
Thank
know
you so
what
much.
other gigs are coming up. I don't know.
Those are the
What are
three
you
that-
doing? Are you doing anything? No, think ahead to past mid-October.
Yeah, not stuff that's local anyway. No, and I just do some
what's local?
commercial
This isn't
things.
going to be local. This is global, baby. You're going global.
That's what's happening. Yeah. What time is it? That's what time it is. Yeah.
You got anything? A wedding?
Yeah, I'm playing a wedding in the beginning of. Actually, that'll be the beginning of October, so we'll air it. I got weddings coming up. I got
Good for
random
you.
jazz stuff.
And they pay good. The weddings.
Weddings pay beautifully.
They pay really. They pay really well.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm going to announce this right now on your show.
Okay.
I have had this idea to do a theme wedding, to have not Steely Dan, but the music of Steely Dan.
Oh.
Like 2 sets of, well, how many do you do at a wedding? 3 sets, and maybe the cocktail beginning, like a cocktail thing. But I thought this would probably be an awesome thing to offer, like a theme wedding.
Yeah.
So it's not, we'll do like a whole set of like dance funk things, with the horn, everybody. But it'll be 2 sets of like music of Steely Dan,
Based
like
on
a concert.
Based on the age of the audience that usually comes out, we could play a lot of divorce parties too.
I was gonna say probably don't play
Second
Haitian divorce.
Exactly. No, we might lay off of that one.
No, yeah.
It's funny.
All right.
I'm serious about that. I think
I'm all in. I'll even wear a Star Trek costume for this. It's fine. Yeah.
For the Steely Dan.
Yeah. Well, they don't really have costumes, Steely Dan. I mean,
no.
I don't think they ever wore anything other than what they had on when they got to sound check.
That's why we all dress the way we do.
Yeah, it's comfortable.
They might wear like a belt on their arm for Time Out of Mind.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Maybe. Well, we've taken up enough of your time, so we'll end it here. But thanks for tuning in. Thanks again to, I'll say it again, the wonderful Jerry Marotta for regaling us with amazing stories. And until we see you for part 2, we'll
awesome.
leave it at
I
that.
look forward to it. Thanks.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Take care.
Thank you.